as I look back on all of this, and now I feel like we're again at the end of the road here with Ben Simmons. I constantly think to myself, well, wait, how did we come to this point? How did we get here? How did we get to this point right now? And here's where I've arrived at. I know some people might look at it and say that Ben Simmons can easily blame the Sixers brass. I know that some people can look at it and say that the Sixers that Ben Simmons is going to look at the fan base and people are going to blame the fan base in Philadelphia. This is not a Philadelphia fan base fault. This is not even a 76ers brass or front office fault. When you're looking for blame, when you're looking for who to blame as to why this Ben Simmons experiment, if you will, failed, you can only look at one person, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is to blame for why we are in the spot that we're in right now in Philadelphia. Philadelphia offered support to Ben Simmons throughout his career. The fan base of Philadelphia offered support to Ben Simmons throughout his career. The 76ers front office, the 76ers coaching staff, going back to Brett Brown and then even now with Doc Rivers, offered support and tried to challenge Ben Simmons to get the absolute most out of his potential in the NBA. When Ben Simmons was drafted number 1 overall by the 76ers, you know what people were saying? Oh, he'll learn to shoot. Well, of confidence, he'll learn to shoot. This is a guy that could be LeBron James coming into the NBA. He'll learn to shoot. Ben Simmons coming into the league came in with a very low ceiling and a very high floor. And so far, he has reached a lot of what that ceiling eventually will be in the NBA. That's what he is already at. That's where he's at already. He came into the league pretty close to being an all-star. And now he's a 3-time all-star, despite not developing the offensive skill set that he'll need to be a prolific player, MVP candidate in the NBA. The only person to blame for him not getting any higher and going through that ceiling is Ben Simmons. Brett Brown tried publicly challenging him when he got fed up with him not improving his game, not taking the next step in his game, saying that he wanted Ben Simmons to shoot at least 8 free throws a game and at least 1 3-point attempt a game. And Ben Simmons never did that again. Never did that again, despite the public request made by his head coach, Brett Brown. And now Doc Rivers defends Ben Simmons throughout his entire first year with the Sixers as Ben Simmons' head coach. Defends him throughout the entire season, talking about all the things that he does great. I've talked about all the things that Ben Simmons does great. And now, Ben, the final conclusion, the final chapter in all of this is that Ben Simmons, after even getting a max extension from the Sixers, despite not expanding his offensive skill set, despite getting support from the fan base here in Philadelphia, the vast majority of the fan base, did he have his detractors? He absolutely did. But for the most part, people looked at Ben and knew what he brought to the table, knew what to expect from him. All this went out the window when Ben decided to pass up on a potentially game-tying dunk against the Atlanta Hawks with 3:29 to go in Game 7 in South Philadelphia. Everything changed there. It had started to change when Doc Rivers said, I can't take Ben Simmons out of a game. Even if they're going to go hack a Ben, I can't take him out of a game. And that's what happened against the Wizards. Then it went into the next series, the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Hawks. And then Doc eventually took him out. You know why Doc eventually took him out? Because Ben Simmons, again, to go back to him, failed to improve on foul shooting. As a matter of fact, a 61% free throw shooter during the regular season dropped to a historically horrid 34% from the free throw line during the playoffs. You want a head coach to keep a guy on who's going to be a detriment that much to a team? It's impossible. You can't do it. You can't be mad at Doc Rivers for doing it. You got to be mad at the guy who actually didn't hit the free throws, and that's Ben Simmons. So when you look at all this and you get to this point, this end point that we're at right now with Ben, the end is that he's not going to report. He's willing to not report to training camp at the end of September, the end of this month, by the way. We're in September. Happy September 1st, everybody. You mean to tell me he's not going to report to camp because he doesn't want to be here anymore? One person to blame, and that's Ben, for either just not wanting to be in Philadelphia, period, because of the Sixers, because of the fan base, because of the city, whatever it might be. He might want to be in the West Coast. Go figure. That's a big shocker, right? But he doesn't want to be here in Philadelphia. A team that has invested in him many times over, a team that left it with him at the end of the season, that they wanted to make sure that they got a better basketball player in return. And Ben all of a sudden, oh, no, I'm out. I don't want this anymore. Like, it sucks for so many reasons, and I try not to get too emotionally worked up over this stuff, but I got to be honest with you. I'm still not over the fact that the Sixers lost Game 7 to the Atlanta Hawks. I'm still not over that. I have not had a loss stick with me like that since the Super Bowl, probably, when the Eagles lost to the Patriots in 2005, following the 2004 season. I can't remember that many losses that have stuck with me the way the Sixers lost to the Hawks and the way everything went down. So now you're looking back on everything that got you to this point, and you're looking back on the process years. And if somebody would have told you that you would go through, even if you were a process supporter, which I was never a Hinkie-ite necessarily, but I was a process supporter. If you go back and you think about, if someone would have told you, all right, you're going to get to this point, but here's what's going to happen. Two of the number one overall picks you're going to have are going to leave prematurely. One far prematurely in Markelle Fultz. The other in Ben Simmons. He'll never learn to shoot. He'll get a little bit better as a defender from when he came into the league to now. He'll be a 3-time All-Star, but there'll be two of the most glaring things every basketball player should be able to do he won't be able to do. Free throws and a mid-range game. He will never improve upon that. Are you doing the process? Because I'm not signing up for that. Yeah, you got Joel Embiid, but when's the last time a center won anything in the NBA? As a team, that is, not as an MVP award. I mean, it's the first time the trend was finally broken with Jokic. But now you look at this situation right now with the Sixers and the roster and where they are going forward. Do you need to tell me it's worth it? It could almost not be botched more than what it is. You got a plethora of talent, you got a plethora of assets and picks and all that stuff, and this is what it's come down to. Now it's all going to depend on what you can get back in return for Ben Simmons. And I wouldn't fault Daryl Morey if from this point on, just out of spite, he looked at Ben and said, all right, let's go ahead and sit out. That's fine. I don't got to trade you for next to nothing. Because there's no doubt that this hurts the return you could get on a Ben Simmons trade. The fact that the Sixers' hand is forced. You can either have Ben Simmons sit out, or you could try to get something in return for him. No, it's not going to be the 4 first-round picks that you were asking from the San Antonio Spurs, but it's going to be a significantly less return on that investment if you are to trade Ben Simmons and if he's threatening to hold out. So now he makes it even more difficult for the Sixers to try to move him. And it also hurts the Sixers in the long run because he knows at some point he's going to get moved, and it won't be for the max return that he would have brought back had he decided not to hold out. And for the record, I was 1,000% on board with Ben Simmons coming back, giving him the opportunity to at least show that he put in the work in the offseason, that he could shoot free throws, that he would shoot a three from time to time, that he would at least develop that mid-range game. I was at least willing to give that an opportunity before the upcoming trade deadline in this upcoming season. But now it doesn't even seem like we're going to have that. Now we're not going to have that with Ben forcing his way out. I flat out saw this news yesterday and read the story from Keith Pompey that also highlights things that Doc Rivers said after they got bounced out of the playoffs against the Hawks, where Doc Rivers said that he didn't know if he was going to be able to win a championship with a guard like Ben Simmons playing the way he was playing. Joel Embiid coming out saying that the turning point in the game was the same turning point that we all saw at the Wells Fargo Center, that fateful Game 7 night against the Hawks, where he passed up, as I mentioned, the 3:29 left in the game. That was the turning point. Joel Embiid coming out and saying that. Joel Embiid asking Ben Simmons about it right there in the moment on the basketball court. And Seth Curry throwing his hands up in the air like, what the hell? Why are you passing up on that? This is a cowardice act from Ben Simmons and Clutch Sports. That's what it looks like from the outside looking in. And the only person I blame, really, in all of this is Ben Simmons, because he did not respond to challenges from his coaching staff, both coaching staffs, both with Doc Rivers and Brett Brown. And this is Ben Simmons not responding to the challenge of his team needing him more in the postseason. You want to talk about defense? Hey, I applaud him every step of the way for the defense. But we need to talk about actually what else he brings to the table and how he cowered in the moment by passing to Matisse Thybulle, and how him and his camp are cowering in the moment right now by saying he can't be in Philadelphia anymore. If he just doesn't want to be here anymore, if he wants to live the West Coast lifestyle, if he wants the stardom that basketball brings him, if he's in love with what basketball brings him as opposed to just being in love with basketball, well, that's a whole different story. Then fine, see you later. But if he's also cowering in the moment, that's another reason to just say, don't let the door hit you in the ass, my friend. See you later. Because I'll look at this. I know what's going to happen from this point out. I know a lot of people are going to look at Philadelphia and the fan base and say, oh, they rode Ben Simmons out of town. No, I don't. That's not the case. Factually speaking, that's not the case. Oh, the Sixers front office, they ran Ben Simmons out of town. Really? Before he improved on his shooting, they gave him a $170 million contract extension. I don't think they ran him out of town. Brett Brown's not working out for him. He doesn't like Brett. Got to get a new head coach. They bring in Doc Rivers, who's won a championship, who's one of the most respected people in all the NBA, and he won't even listen to him. His own teammate, Joel Embiid, challenged Ben Simmons numerous occasions. Go to the Jackie McMullen piece. Go to other articles written about Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and saying how, oh, if we have shots, if we have open shots, no matter who you are, you got to take them. And you want to look at people challenging Ben and say that, Ben, he's ran out of town. How about rising to the occasion? I mean, that's just a thought. The only person I look at that has fault, that has blame in all of this is Ben Simmons.